How do you know who I am? The shadow knows. I'm Liam, he's Rob, and for the second part of our dodgy 90s superhero movies season of podcasts, we look back at 1994's superhero flop The Shadow. Despite a fine movie star turn from Alec Baldwin, despite its visual splendor and undercurrents of genuinely interesting themes and ideas, this is a movie that ultimately fails to overcome its shortcomings. Whether it be the messy, inconsistent narrative, some dodgy early CGI, or the truly egregious use of utterly unnecessary prosthetics, The Shadow infuriatingly hints at the movie it could have been while never coming close to reaching its full potential. Now, Rob, last week we were concerned that our so-called dodgy 90s superhero season of podcasts was going to be undone by a collection of better than expected movies. But after the pleasant surprise of last week's The Phantom, can we both agree that despite some positives, The Shadow is indeed rather dodgy?
I was going to say we're back on track. I mean, the Phantom took us out, took us away. We were like, actually, no, this is good. The Shadow, yeah, it proves the 90s, as we said, on it, where they're just dodgy. Like
there were quite a few of them, as you said. These are the ones you remember being dodgy. You mentioned there that we're back on track because of The Phantom. We were never on track. It was the first part of our season of dodgy 90s superhero movies, and we went back and watched it and went, "This isn't very dodgy at all."
We assumed that they were just dodgy from memories.
Mm-hmm.
I will say, I started this with trepidation, but also after the bridge scene, I was like, right, okay, I don't remember much of this now. This is going to be a Phantom for me. The bridge scene led me to believe I was going to be led down a darker path. Like it was fucking great. That spoiler alert for favorite scene. The introduction of the Shadow, the dodgy laughter, the everything, the fights. I think that looked good as well. When he was doing like some sort of flash punching, where he's punching the guys.
But full noir, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I think that was great. And then it took a turn for the worse. And I should have understood that it was gonna go down some weird rabbit holes of the logic not being consistent at all. When he decided to shoot at an Asian man to break the concrete. Like as soon as he took out his guns and shot at that dude to break the concrete, I'm like, yeah, well, that's not going to work. I don't care if you can read people's minds and do all this shit. Do not shoot at the guy's concrete feet.
It felt like it did feel like an accident waiting to happen, in fairness. And I mean, that kind of almost brought me back, that because I also like that sequence on the bridge. It's weird watching it in like high definition now. You can clearly see that there's like a matte painting at the end of the bridge. It's something that probably wouldn't be quite so clear if you're watching this on standard definition. But I actually think it adds to the charm because it's a set, that sequence, and it gives it that kind of old-fashioned movie direction kind of style to it, which a lot of the movie does. And as I said, this is a largely good-looking movie, but it did have to win me over because, again, unlike The Phantom last week, where I had pretty low expectations, and as soon as it started, I was like, "Oh, wait a minute, this looks like a good movie. Like it's well directed, it's well shot, strong cinematography, blah blah blah." The opening to this film is terrible. It's so fucking terrible. I mean, it was cool to see James Hong.
You mean in Tibet, in Tibet?
Tibet. Yeah, it's one of the weirdest cold openings I have ever seen in a movie. I was like, what's up with the nails? What's up with the hair?
Why is everyone speaking English? Nails. It was one random as well because he wasn't the only Caucasian guy there. After he said whatever he said in, I don't know, Chinese Mandarin. Or Mandarin. Thank you very much.
Yeah, he says in the restaurant later, she's like, "Oh, you speak Chinese," and he specifically says, "I only speak Mandarin."
Thank you. So after he said in Mandarin, after he shot James Hong, he had this guy shoot James Hong. He turned around to the crowd, said something, and they all laughed out of fear, I'm guessing. But then there was a random white dude in a three-piece suit. Like, what the fuck are you doing in Tibet?
Well, that's the thing with this film. When you're watching it, and just to be clear, when I started watching this, I quickly realized that I could literally remember nothing. I remembered the bridge sequence. After that, I was like, this is legitimately like watching it for the first time. That's how little I enjoyed this film when I watched it in like 95, when I was like, 30. When you go back and watch this film, for all its faults, the one thing I realized pretty quickly is like this isn't an ideal film for a 13-year-old to watch. Just like I was, what we mentioned again, I won't keep bringing up the Phantom. We had this expectation with the Phantom that it might be another Batman movie because we weren't used to superhero films in like the early 90s. Superman had been 78. We kind of, that was out before we were born. We'd kind of grown up on it, but that was really it. And then Batman hit big in '89, and we were all expecting more Batman. And then we got, the Phantom was clearly just an Indiana Jones film with a dude dressed in purple. This, however, is Batman. Like, it is clearly an attempt to kind of create their own version of Batman. And
There was
these existed back in the 30s around the same time. I know Orson Welles, bizarrely, he actually read because this was a radio show.
Yeah, so he voiced the Shadow when the Shadow was part of a radio play, but then he was recast. To say you recast Orson Welles is insane. But then he was recast when the Shadow became its own radio play, because the Shadow originally was. And the other thing, ironic, because you brought up Batman, the Shadow was one of the, I guess, templates for the original Batman. Bob Kane and Bill Finger, they used the Shadow as a template to create Batman. So it all kind of comes full circle, but you can't really follow like the films. Yeah, Batman '89. As much as I can't even remember now because we saw it like it was one of the first films we watched, and I haven't seen it since. So I can't remember whether or not I was warm to it or not. It had its moments back in the day, but I wouldn't rate it now. I don't think, but I would rate it more than I would rate The Shadow. Like after the second opening in New York City, the bridge, they seem to fail on everything. The only thing that I think they did great on, and this is mad, and it's not usually me that says this, those custom-made pistols, nicknamed Silver Heat, those custom pistols, they were custom-made for this film. They're fucking lovely. Like they're extended 1911. They're meant to look like extended 1911s, custom grips, everything, and the fact that they're pure, like not pure silver, so shiny compared to everything else that's meant to be dark with him. You can't see anything about him, but he's got these two shiny guns just hanging off his
Which
chest.
is cool, and this is the last time I'm bringing Phantom, but I have to. It's odd that both of these movies, and obviously the characters were created around the same time, they both got dual pistols, and they both got rings, which aren't really used all that much in the movie. They make a big deal out. I guess the rings in this film are used to a great extent. Then you forget that he's got the skull ring in the Phantom until literally the very final scene, and then they do that weird Schwartz sequence, whatever. In this, it's basically just the bat phone on his finger. And the similarities to Batman run all the way through us to the point where, right, to bring it back to that opening sequence where he's in Tibet and he's an opium drug lord. They do this throughout the film where things just happen and then they explain them like 30 minutes later. It's infuriating because I'm watching the film. I'm constantly, wait, what the fuck? Who's like Yinko or whatever the fuck his name is? Why is he an opium drug lord? Why are we in Tibet? Who's this guy? And then everything gets explained 30 minutes after you stop thinking about it. And it's just like, well, this is all infuriating. But the opening, and it really is when he has his first scene with the chief of police, I think it is. They keep having dinners together. His uncle. And those scenes should carry more weight, but it is what it is. But when he walks into that club and he's wearing the suit, you're just like, oh, Alec Baldwin could have been Bruce Wayne. He absolutely could have been Bruce Wayne. And that whole opening, if they had explained it a bit better, the similarities to Batman Begins specifically are like unbelievable. It's a really poorly told version of the start of Batman Begins. So instead of just going there and he like accidentally becomes it's a more extreme case of him becoming a criminal, but he kind of gets in. Who's the dude? Again, another thing which isn't explained until 40 minutes later. Oh, I'm the Tulker. Okay, you're the Tulker. That's fine. You're gonna what's the whole deal with him? He's like, you're gonna pay the price of, you have to pay the price for redemption. But he never says anything about redemption. He seems happy being a drug lord. The whole sequence is just kind of charged through at 1,000,000 miles per hour. So again, it kind of makes sense retrospectively as you get through the film. But in the moment, things just kept happening. I was just like, okay, I have no idea when any of that happened. We're suddenly on a bridge. And then we run into one of my major issues with the films, the goddamn prosthetics. You can try and explain away why he had that fucking nose on him. And I know it's linked to the original cartoon or comic strip where he had a bit of a hook nose and stuff. It's a fucking terrible, terrible choice.
Jesus, you mentioned the ring, and I wanted to mention the ring, and then you went off for 10 minutes again.
Sorry, I do apologize. I do apologize.
So I won't like the prosthetics. Yes, the whole pointy nose thing, and then he covers it with the bandana. It's really awful. It is. It's comic accurate, I believe. It's
That's
basically
what it is, yeah.
what it is. It's when he becomes the Shadow. It's his inner evil coming out. So that's why he hides.
If you notice that his inner evil when he pulls off his mask, he just looks like Trent Reznor. It's really weird. He looks so much like Trent Reznor. But the whole idea of having
hang on.
a mask and then putting a mask over the top. Ugh. Anyway, sorry. I'm just really upset about it.
You mentioned the ring, right? And I wanted to ask because the ring you said is like the bat phone for everyone else. Whenever it glows, like as soon as it glows, the dad from Everybody Loves Raymond, Peter Boyle, he kicks the people out of his fantastic looking 30s style roadster car, a taxi. And he does wherever he can then to help the Phantom. The Shadow. What I love is the fact that he has all these guys. He has this tube system. He has this weird clandestine guy walk into the middle of the street to hand over the notice that nobody else can read unless they've got the magic because it's all in invisible ink. And that's picked up in the middle of a rainy street. That's great.
Yeah.
But he doesn't need any of that. Because if the Phantom wants... So if the Shadow... I keep on... You've mentioned Phantom like 15 times in my head now. If the Shadow wants to do something, he tells them to do it. Like literally, he got Margot to rescue him. That's great. Okay, they're simpatico apparently. That's fine. But he literally said to Margot as well, "You just go stand next to Mo. You'll get your instructions." So he's already sent his instructions via, I'm guessing, telepathy to the guy in the tube station.
Well, again, that's supposed to be one of his major powers, but then it's kind of like you say, undone by the fact that he needs this mail system / he's got that kind of like personal radio in his house. And again, something else which isn't explained. It's like, with the whole Bruce Wayne thing. You're like, okay, well, he's a millionaire. What exactly is funding his inner sanctum and all that fancy technology he's got? Is it back to his opium days? Did he bring all that money back and go, I'm going to use this for good, I suppose?
I think he's Bruce Wayne. That was the whole point. He fought in World War One, stayed there, did his opium thing, but his family are mega rich. He's come back.
Is that
not explained? No.
Yeah, just to be clear.
Comes back, and he, like I said, and he's now like. So I think it's just his family is mega rich, and it leads me to another thing, and I wonder if they kind of did it because I've only read 1 or 2 Phantom books, so you'll have to excuse me, but it leads me to a question of: did they not want to compare him to Bruce Wayne or Batman too much, and not have his sanctum in the mansion? Because why is his sanctum built in the middle of New York in a random alley where anyone could just see him walk in? Why?
Well,
why is
I
it
guess
not...
he can do his shadow stuff, maybe.
Yeah, I get that, but he needs to keep going to that sanctum instead of just being where he lives, which is probably easier. I really don't get it. It was really... I mean, don't get me wrong, it looked great. When he walked into the sanctum, it looked fine.
But to your point, like you come into the inner sanctum, and of course it's got this fancy name, and you think, oh, this is going to be awesome. Like, nobody knows it's there. He uses his shadow tricks. The first thing that happens after we see the inner sanctum is it is immediately breached by Shiwan Khan. Immediately. And even Shiwan Khan, and we'll get to Shiwan Khan and my annoyance with bad prosthetics in this film, and not just bad prosthetics, needless prosthetics. That's another thing which is horribly explained. So he's kind of like it's like a sarcophagus almost, isn't it? Shows up in the museum, and the guy is immediately like all spooked out because he thinks and he says, "Oh, it's Genghis Khan's, sarcophagus or whatever his, whatever you want to call it, his tomb thing," and he's immediately like, "Oh my god, that's some spooky shit." It's like, why? Surely that's just awesome if it's Genghis Khan. It's like he knows that there's going to be some magical shit going down. And then of course Shiwan Khan comes out, and I'm watching it and I'm just assuming I was like, oh, he's Genghis Khan. And then again, 13 minutes later, they explain the fact that he's he's traveled in his holy crypt. He's absorbed his powers, whatever fucking his powers are, over 3 days. And he's Shiwan Khan, and like you said, he's his last descendant. Explain 30 minutes later after you've you've been with it long enough to be annoyed, then you forget about it, then explains it, then I'm annoyed again because they've explained it 30 minutes too late. It's the script for this film is mental, and what really drives me crazy is, like I said, there's a good movie here. It's like the prosthetics.
No. There's an okay movie here.
There's a decent film.
Yeah,
there's a decent film.
The guy that the guy that when he come out of the sarcophagus crypt, metal
Mhm.
coffin, whatever you want to call it, the security guard he made shoot himself because he was weak-minded. Did you recognize that security guard?
Oh, I absolutely recognize Neelix from Voyager. That's what I
Oh,
know him
fuck
from
no.
anyway.
Oh, okay. No, no, no. He was Vicky Vale's partner in Batman, going back to Batman.
Are we talking about the same dude?
No, the
Oh
as soon as
no,
the coffin
no,
opens,
I
yeah.
was no. When the coffin opens, the guy who he convinces to shoot himself. That's neat. I'm sure that's what's his name? Ah, fuck. One sec. Ethan Phillips. I'm
Oh,
sure that's
that
Ethan Phillips who played Neelix in Star Trek's Voyager.
I don't think it is. Hang on
I'm
now.
convinced
Yeah.
it's him, dude. I'm
Ethan.
convinced it's him because I remember looking at him and it was driving me crazy for a minute. So you had the guy who opened the crypt, the holy crypt, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
We've got to decide a fucking name for that thing. He buggers off, and then he comes out, Shiwan Khan. For some reason, he can immediately speak English. Sure, he knows what a gun is, despite the fact that I assume he's been in this crypt for hundreds of years. And he tells Ethan Phillips, aka Neelix, to shoot himself in the face.
No, it's not Ethan Phillips, mate. It's I can't find his name here now.
I know who you mean, dude. Ethan
Yeah,
Phillips is in this film.
Robert Wool. Yeah, so the security guard is Robert Wool. I'm sure it is.
Well, anyway, whoever the fuck it
No, no,
is,
no. We're gonna figure this.
I
The,
think
the
I think
listeners.
he's in the film as well. But I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure the sequence at the museum with the crypt is I'm
they're
pretty sure
probably
that
both going to
is.
be in it. But the guy that shoots himself in the face
I think he gets a
is
couple of guys to shoot himself in the face because there's well, no, he gets one guy to jump off the Empire State Building. He gets another
that
guy who's
guy.
quite famous.
That guy who jumps off the Empire State Building, Patrick Fischler, who was in like every TV show going. Is just like he was in Lost and everything like that. He's
There's a bunch of dudes. Like it seems to be specifically guys who Shiwan Khan convinces to kill themselves are just famous. Like those guys, you know them from TV. Like I said, the guy who played Neelix from Voyager. There was the guy in the cab who drove into the gas truck. He's in. I can't think of his fucking name, but he's in loads of things as well. So they just seem to like, just kind of handpick them. But that's the thing. Like this movie's got like a pretty decent cast, and it's a shame because if you take Shiwan Khan, for instance, played by John Lone, John Lone is a really handsome dude. He's in The Last Emperor. He's probably, for people of our age, a lot of people know him from the Rush Hour movies. And inexplicably, they've covered his face in prosthetics. I'm like, dude's already Asian. He's a good looking Asian dude. I get the eyes. Give him the eyes. Why they've put all that other shit on his face, again, inexplicable. You've got two handsome leading men and you just put crap all over their face. It's absolutely bizarre. The stuff with, and
I don't know what
will
they
stop
put
going
on.
on.
Sorry,
Oh,
I don't
sorry.
know what they put on his face, right? But
Mhm.
he looked like the whitest Asian man I've ever seen. It was like,
That's what I
yeah,
mean.
it was
Looked
like
like
somebody that they basically just blackfaced him or Asian. I don't know what it's
no,
called when
that's
you,
no,
yeah.
no. Let's call it Asian face. That's how bad it is. It looks like they've taken a white dude and tried to make him look Asian, but instead they've taken an Asian dude and made him look like a white guy pretending to be Asian. It's bananas, and I don't care. Like I said, how comic accurate it is. When you get to the final sequence, when the film goes full Enter the Dragon for that final sequence,
Yeah.
and you finally get Alec Baldwin as the Shadow, but without the crappy makeup on, do you know what? He looks fucking amazing. He looks every inch the movie star with the coat and the guns and everything. I was just like, he looks so dope. He stops the stupid laughing, which I know he did for the intro. I don't get why they felt the need to do so much goddamn laughing in this film. It's weird.
It's taunting, isn't it? I mean, I get it. He had to have his thing. He had to like. I can see in your mind, I'm. It's trying to relay their fear. I get it. It's just his laugh just doesn't work for me.
Well, right. Put it this way. I get it on the bridge. Say, if you go back to the bridge sequence, when they can't see him and he's trying to unnerve them, it's like he doesn't have that I'm Batman thing. It's like, so I'm going to laugh. And it would be weird if you couldn't see someone and it's dark and they're just doing that weird, crazy laugh. You're like, that is unsettling. But say the bit that I used for the intro with Roy, his buddy, he just fucking laughs in the car. And even like the cab driver, his buddy's just like, oh, I guess I should laugh with him. Then it just comes across as like mental in a really weird way. I just think they could have toned down the laughing a little bit. just like the prosthetics, sadly. But
But
it
I'm
is what
really
it is.
mad as well because you're right. It's not my fucking dude from Batman. It's your fucking Star Trek guy. I'm
I
so mad at myself.
thought you were just letting me get away with talking too much about bullshit. I was like, he's still looking this up. It's
Yeah,
ridiculous.
I was stuck in my like an
No,
earworm. I
I
just
know,
couldn't
I
get rid of
know.
it. I
But
had to
once it's
figure it out.
there.
Yeah.
We mentioned him briefly at the start, and I just have to ask if you've got any to add to this list, because bizarrely, there are three examples of this in the movie. So James Hong, who we briefly mentioned, he's in this just at the start, gets killed
Yep.
almost immediately.
Yep.
But I was like,
Li Peng.
James Hong, yeah, Li Peng, is one of those guys who was looked the same for my entire life. He looked exactly the same when I was 8 as he does now, as far as I can tell. And he belongs on the same kind of list as like Steve Martin, Leslie Nielsen until he passed away. Fucking Pharrell has got a touch of it now. Jared Leto is kind of going that way. Robert Redford, who recently passed away, he's
Yep.
looked kind of 60 for the last 30 years of his life. But two of the others who I put on that list, bizarrely in this film, Peter Boyle looked exactly the same until the day he died. Like he looked 70 for like 40 years. And Ian McKellen has just looked like Gandalf for like 40 years now. I have no recollection of him looking young. He's just always looked the same kind of old. It's bizarre. So yeah, just a collection of people in this film who've all just looked the same for 40 years, as far as I can tell.
Again, going from this film, Al Leong is in this film, who has
Yeah,
always looked like Al Leong for me.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And he's never
And
lived long enough. If we ever make a film, I just want Al Leong to just be in it more than like 10. Like 10
I've
seconds.
always said that. I always want to cast those guys from the 80s who were just in the background and as characters you wouldn't expect. You see Al Leong, you expect him to be Asian henchman who does some martial arts and dies. I'd
And be a
love him
lawyer.
to. Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Just
more
have
than
some in the back.
listen, just be a character with a name. I think we've mentioned on previous podcasts. In this film, he's just referred to as Tibetan driver. I'm like, come
Yeah.
on, man. Al Leong deserves more than that.
There's another guy as well, it's Nils Allen Stewart, right?
Oh, who plays Mongol number 13?
Mongol. Thank
They
you.
only,
There it is.
they only had 12 Mongols. It's like, dude, if you've only got 12 Mongols, just cut it 12 Mongols. Don't make the 13th Mongol, Niels Allen Stewart, because one, he's huge, and two, he's so white. He's so white.
Yes, I love him though. So he is Zed in Fist of the North Star. We argue on that live action film whether or not it's good or not.
Well, it's just not. It's not.
And
It's
he's also
really bad.
he's also Boa Bobo in Double Dragon.
Oh my god, another absolute stinker. In fairness,
Yeah.
he has no business being in this one
Being a Mongol. No, I don't know why they
No.
can. But like, I don't know if it's because, like I said, because we were talking about people who have always looked the same. He has always looked the same for me, and it's the Fu Manchu mustache. I'm pretty sure that's why they said, okay, your pass as a Mongol. Like,
Well, it just
I don't
brings
think he will, dude.
the Fu Manchu mustache just brings more attention to his whiteness, as far as I'm concerned. And it's like, listen, I wouldn't be surprised if the other 12 Mongols aren't played exclusively by Mongols. I'm sure some of them are, the star, the main antagonist in this film is an American Chinese actor. He's not Mongol. Just find somebody Asian at least. Just don't pick a random. And he's so there's like a fight sequence, one of the first fight sequences, like in the lab, and he's just standing there looking so white, so prominent. I'm like, why is he? Does everyone else know he's white, or are they pretending that he's Mongol? I think they're pretending that he's Mongol. It's fucking bananas.
We always gave credit as well to From Dusk Till Dawn as having one of the greatest weapons, the pump action crossbow. Turns out this film might have been the first version of a pump action crossbow. That fight in the lab, that dude has a pump action crossbow because he pins the shadow to the wall with it.
He does, and it's another one of those examples of this film where it's like it's almost good. Like that sequence where his kind of shadow gets pinned to the wall. It doesn't look quite as cool as it does. Then he has a fist fight with another dude, and you have that oddly homoerotic sequence where they fall off the edge of the building. He lands on top of him.
Next time you come on top, yeah.
Next time you go on top. And I was just like, one, that's oddly homoerotic, and two, it shows this level of confidence in his fighting skills, which would suggest that he has like superhuman powers. But as far as I can tell, and do correct me if I'm wrong, his powers appear to be he can throw his voice, he's a psychic, and he's occasionally hard to see.
So his
That's it.
powers are no, his powers are basically mental to cloud men's minds, right?
Yeah.
So I wanted because you said about like fighting skills and all that. I don't think he has any. Okay,
Yeah, neither do I.
whatever he learned in the army when during World War One, I think that's as
Yeah.
much as it goes. Because anytime somebody is able to see him, because the whole point is that he can cloud men's minds, make himself invisible, except for his shadow.
Mhm.
I know I'm teaching you how to suck eggs here. They've explained it five
No,
times.
no. That's fair
But
enough. Yeah.
so he's invisible unless there's light on him or he stood in water or anything like that.
Mhm.
But as soon as he becomes visible to these people, he's
Mhm.
taken out. As soon
Yeah.
as they saw the shadow, they pinned him to the wall.
Mhm.
As soon as Tim
Tim
Curry was,
Curry.
yeah, as soon as Tim Curry was able to see him standing in the water, Tim Curry managed to shoot him and trap him in the most conspicuous lab I've ever seen. If you're going to a lab to visit Tim Curry and it looks like that, don't go inside.
You mean like
Just don't go inside.
the bizarre water chamber? I mean, that's one of the things, and you do get it in these kind of movies. And I'm going to mention again, we had the same issue last week with the Phantom, is that to make things narratively interesting, they make our hero look like a chump, and they do it in this film. Like Tim Curry's character, as far as I can tell, has basically no business being in this film. He's completely inessential. You could just have Ian McKellen and everything would be fine. But it's okay. We have Tim Curry. Tim Curry, who is a bumbling idiot, a sex pest, and a coward, as far as I can tell. He totally gets the drop on the shadow because he can see his feet in the water. And
Yeah.
if it wasn't for the fact that he literally just kind of like, what's her name? He had just kind of had that moment with Penelope Anne's character,
Yeah.
Margot Lane, where she knows he's the shadow and they're kind of working together. And the film actually gets a little bit better once you get over that moment. But if it wasn't for that, he would have just drowned and died. It was only because she was there that he survived that. And I'm like, okay, fair enough. That was silly. It was an over-designed set piece and a ridiculous set, but let's go for it. Or let's say a wasted set piece because it had Tim Curry fighting him. Then you have another fucking fight scene with Tim Curry. Dude, there is no reason in the world for there to be two fight sequences with Tim Curry. Even Tim Curry is aware of how ludicrous it is because he turns it up to, I mean, I was going to say 11. He turns up to 13. When he
The only way
starts
Tim Curry
laughing and dribbling, I'm like, what the fuck is going on? It's really odd.
Go back. So we've done nearly 300 episodes, right? I don't know the right number. You usually good with the numbers, but we've done about 300 episodes nearly. And I always have these things. You call it like the Point Break moment because it was one of the first instances I did it. So I had my Point Break moment in this film.
So just to be clear, if you don't know what the Point Break moment is, it's just weird shit that gets on Rob's tits, which everyone else ignores. It's just like something so innocuous, but drives you crazy and ruins the rest of the movie for you, basically.
Yeah. So what was my Point Break moment in this film?
I have no idea. I tried to think about it because you mentioned that you had one. I was like, oh, I wonder what it could be for this film. There are so many inconsistencies in this film that any number of them could have driven you crazy. But I have no doubt it would be something that I've not noticed and would have never thought of.
So in the weird water chamber lab at the dock, Tim Curry shoots him.
Yeah.
Okay. Manages to shoot some holes in the side of the building, which is fortuitous because he can use that to breathe while he's waiting for Margot to fight traffic to rescue him.
Of course. Yeah.
He breathes. Well, the first thing is he puts his finger through the metal and manages to get his finger back out clean. That's not happening. It's a bullet hole. His finger wouldn't go through it or it'd be jagged. But anyway, he manages to take a breath through it. And as soon as he's taken a breath, he swims to the other side of the room to the door because Margot's come in. When Margot arrives and she gets to the door, right next to the door are the bullet holes leaking water. How?
I don't know. And yes, just to answer my own question, I would have never guessed that in a million years. It's like there were so many things to be annoyed with.
That pissed me off because he swam. He took a breath and he swam from one area of the chamber to the other side. I know it's circular and everything, but he swam from the back of the chamber to the front where the door was. And as soon as she arrived, he's only shot 4 bullets. On the Phantom. He didn't shoot any more, not by the door. So where the fuck was he? Like, that really pissed me off.
Yeah, it's one of the many inconsistencies. I mean, to be honest, when I think about things that annoy me about this film, I think more about like the character. Like, it's because I like Alec Baldwin so much. We mentioned, you know, we're doing 4 movies for our season of dodgy 90 superhero films, and I think we
Yeah.
mentioned last week that all of these movies impacted their stars to one extent or another. Now, I don't think this ruined his career in the same way that The Phantom ostensibly just ended Billy Zane's, any chance of him being an A-lister. But I do think, it went some way to kind of end in him, any chance of him being the guy on the poster, in terms of him opening a film. Because he was coming up pretty hot. Like he was coming off The Hunt for Red October with him and Sean Connery. And he had just delivered maybe the greatest scene-stealing cameo of all time in Glengarry Glen Ross. You're talking about a movie with just A-lister after A-lister, famous actors, and he just comes in and just walks all over anyone. If you haven't seen the Alec Baldwin, it's like a 5-minute sequence in the middle of Glengarry Glen Ross, and it is absolutely electric. And it just reminds you that Alec Baldwin is a fantastic actor and has an unbelievable screen presence. When you watch this film, you can see that when he's given the material. He clearly is a movie star. I think he holds the screen incredibly well. The movie just doesn't do enough to support him. I just don't think. No. And one of the most disappointing aspects is that at its heart, this is a potentially interesting character study, which is only hinted at. It's like the stuff with Margot and Lamont, that should have been like the heart of the entire film, because they play up the whole idea that she's like kind of psychic. Again, they don't really explain it. It's fine. But for like the first 45 minutes of this film, they have no chemistry because Margot is just used as a plot device. She's just used an excuse to introduce Ian McKellen. She's just just to kind of explain the psychic powers going on in the universe. She's just there to be a plot device. When she finally figures out that the Shadow is the Shadow and they start working together, suddenly they have chemistry, and you get
she becomes interesting.
She does. And you get that really bizarre dream sequence when he puts his hand in his own face. And it's, under the surface, and it's so poorly explained, this whole idea that Lamont is an absolute asshole. And he's really, the whole reason the Shadow exists is because he has such a darkness inside himself. Yeah. And I think there's the potential, for Alec Baldwin, an actor of his ability in particular, they had the real opportunities to do something genuinely interesting with the character. And the fact that they only hinted at it makes it all the more infuriating, because you're that's the film I want this to be. And then it just kind of disappears into the ether.
They can't go dark with this kind of film, do they? Because they're trying to do it for kids as well.
I think they could have gone a bit darker. I think you could cut out some of the nonsense.
Yeah, but I don't think they were allowed to. I mean, they could have, but I don't think they were allowed to.
Well,
it's funny you mentioned. Hang on. It's funny you mentioned Margot Lane as well, because there was no introduction of her or how she gets her powers or anything like that. It's so weird with her introduction though, because when Wainwright, his uncle, when she shot, and then Lamont goes, "Who's she?" And he's like, "Oh, stay away from her. She's weird. She has these visions." Like, okay, that's the introduction to her. She's weird and she has these visions. She's going it's insane, and then he falls for her. Nothing really happens, and she just seems to arrive wherever she wants. And then Shiwan Khan then calls to his office to kill the Shadow. And in his mind, it was a gift. It's like, oh, no, I didn't want it to kill you. I wanted you to kill her. Why, though? What did she do to you?
Well, again, that bit, it was explained after the fact. So he, this whole thing where the Shadow's mind tricks don't work on Margot Lane because she's a psychic. And then 2 minutes later, Shiwan Khan's mind tricks work on her just fine. And it's just like, why the inconsistency? And then he sends her to kill the Shadow. I'm just like, why would you kill her? Then they kind of half-ass explain it. But then I'm starting to think Shiwan Khan's a fucking moron, because 2 minutes later, he sends a Mongol in full armor to trail him in New York City. I'm like, Jesus. And they do that sequence where he looks in the mirror. It's like, I think there's a fully armored Mongolian sneaking behind me. How very crafty I am. It's absolutely ridiculous. And again,
that reintroduction. That reintroduction of Shiwan Khan as well. When he turns the tables on the fully armored Mongol, and he starts following him because he hides in the shadow. I can disappear. That's not, you can't disappear. You just make people not see it. Anyway, doesn't matter. He starts following the guy and he follows him to a local Chinese restaurant. And then the second introduction, or the third introduction for us, of Shiwan Khan, then he's randomly now just in a business suit. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, out of nowhere. In this whole thing, he wants to be like the Shadow. It's hinted at that they've got this like duality, but
Yeah.
it's never they never follow through on it. So it just seems like you said he's just wearing a suit because there's like a brief reference to, oh, I like your tie, and then 2 minutes later he's dressed like him, but they never follow through on it.
No. And then that same introduction, and I know it's like cultures eat with their hands and things like that, and I get it. But does he have to eat like he's eating from a trough? Like that whole thing where he's just and he's making those noises he's eating is really ridiculous. And I'm sorry,
Yeah,
I know you want to move on as well, and I just want to go back to
for it.
Shiwan Khan. Why he he makes the whole city, which again he hypnotizes the whole city, so they'll forget
Yeah.
the hotel. Great, okay, that's fine. I have questions about what not everyone in that city is from that city. So how did you hypnotize them all? Somebody's
We'll
coming to
just let
visit. They're
that
gonna go,
go.
that's a big hotel. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Then he's in his ballroom or wherever it is, his penthouse.
Mhm.
Why did he think it was a good idea to have some sort of tailor make his cape be the exact same as the floor of that penthouse?
Yeah, right. That's weird. So there's a few questions I had there. Like one, that's like a handful of like there are a handful of genuinely beautiful shots in this movie. Like
Yeah,
bizarrely, one of the greatest shots in the movie is a scene where the male, where the guy who works, one of the
yeah,
guys who works for
yeah.
the Shadow, and it is weird. He's very much the Shadow's got this kind of like he kind of works like the mob. It's like, oh, he does you a favor, he saves your life, but it's like now you work for me, capiche? So
Yeah.
it's like, oh, you will literally have to work for the Shadow for the rest of life. But there's a sequence where they send the mail, and as pointless as it might be, as we suggested earlier, the scene when you follow the mail around the tubes out of the city, it's absolutely gorgeous. And there are a number of absolutely gorgeous aerial shots in this movie where it feels like, again, that old fashioned movie making, and you get these like amazing shots of 1930s New York, and you really do feel that kind of visual splendor, which I referenced at the start of the podcast, which is running through this movie. You can see the money. But and to bring it back to your point, like the bit with his cape being the same design as the floor, it's shot from above. It looks absolutely fantastic, and it doesn't make any sense. And that is a perfect metaphor for the rest of
I
this film. It's like, oh, it looks quite nice. It doesn't make any sense.
I tell you what, again, what doesn't make any sense. Why is he trying to blow up New York City?
I
Like
don't.
he's come there.
He's trying to take
Apparently,
over the world.
okay, he's hypnotized the city to forget the hotel. Did he do that on the day he arrived, or has he been planting that? Like, has he come and planted that seed because nobody can remember, and then he's gone away again, and then come back in
It
Genghis
makes
Khan?
no sense,
Or
and it's another
because he's
thing
only
which
been there
is,
for like 3 days, so
yeah,
he's
and it's
hypnotized
not
the
explained.
city. No,
Mhm.
he's got Ian McKellen, who for the longest time I could have sworn it was John Hurt at the beginning of this. Like it felt like
It's a good
John
point.
Hurt.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
but it's Ian McKellen. Ian McKellen's in this making the bomb, and is that was it Chekhov's colorblind? Okay, that's fine. That's going to come back to us
Yeah,
at some point.
that is yeah. Chekhov's colorblind is
Yeah,
totally correct.
yeah. So that's going to come back to us at some point. Great, fine. Ian McKellen's doing this for the army, and he's decided, okay, no, he's building that. I've made a deal with Tim Curry to do the, oh, not an obtainium. What was it called? Beryllium. The same thing
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
in
yeah.
Galaxy
The
Quest, the
beryllium
beryllium
sphere.
sphere.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's ridiculous.
So,
Yeah.
so we got the beryllium sphere, the only metal that can encase its bomb. Okay, that's great. But was this plan just I've arrived in Genghis Khan's tomb thing,
Yeah.
and now I'm here, and oh, all these pieces are fitting together? Or was this plan before he arrived? Timing doesn't
Well,
work.
no, it doesn't. It doesn't work at all, and it's another one of those things which I guess they want the reveal with the hotel and stuff.
Which
But of
was a
course,
great reveal.
it was a cool reveal, and
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
a really cool shot. But you get straight away. You have Shiwan Khan in this penthouse. You don't know where the penthouse is, and he has like this revolving floor and all this fancy stuff. And I'm just like, wait. As far as we're concerned, he's just shown up in a crypt. And I'm just like, where the fuck did he get this penthouse from? Like, where
Yeah.
the fuck did all this come from? And like you say, if you stop and think about it, the timeline just doesn't make any sense. And it brings you back to my initial point about the fact that I think, without going overly dark, the issue fundamentally lies with Shiwan Khan and the fact that he's such a one-dimensional villain. Like, the tagline for this film is "Who knows what evil lurks inside the hearts of men." It's actually a great tagline, and it speaks as much about Lamont as it does the people he's hunting.
Yeah.
But I really think you could have worked that into the story if you had a more nuanced bad guy. Like he kind of, like you said, they hinted at the whole duality thing. If they had leaned into that and really played up to the whole idea that Lamont is basically a criminal himself, and he kind of tiptoes over the lines sometimes, I think that would have been really interesting. But because, like you say, Shiwan Khan just shows up and he's just like, I have a bomb. I want $1 million. It's like 60s Bond bollocks.
Yeah, but he doesn't even. He
doesn't
he
ask for
doesn't even
money.
ransom. No, he doesn't even ransom the city. It is insane.
It's like the whole film, like you said, it's like the film looks great. There's some cool noir touches. It's, occasionally showy. It's got that kind of Brian De Palma-esque split diopter shots, all front loaded, bizarrely. There's like 4 of them in the first 30 minutes, then it just kind of disappears. But then it's like you keep running into like the dodgy CGI, which I mentioned earlier, and the aesthetics, and it's the narrative though is the big issue. I feel like I could get over those visual issues I have with the film, but it just never comes together in a meaningful way. Again, there's some interesting characters. There's a potentially interesting story here, but everything feels like it's slightly out of order. So I personally, when I was watching it, I never really cared about the story because I just wasn't being fed enough reason to like care about the characters or the wider narrative.
It wasn't so much I cared about the story. I just cared about the plot and the lack of plot. Do me a favor. What was the tagline you said? Was it "Who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men"?
Yeah.
So that was actually the introductory line from all the radio show of The Shadow. It would always start with It would always start with "Who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men? The Shadow knows," and then he would end it with the shadow. The weed of crime bears bitter fruit. Crime does not pay. The Shadow knows. Like, okay, that sounds absolutely great. But that tagline you said is great. But that was the introduction for his radio shows.
Yeah, which is cool. And like I said, I like the idea of the character, and I love the world again. It's one of those bizarre ones actually that the shots in the day look better than the shots at the night. I think they kind of lean too hard into the noirish elements of the cinematography when it's the night shots. In some of the day shots, I'm just like, well, this just looks like 1930s New York, like a movie version, but it looks absolutely gorgeous. There's one phenomenal shot. It's where Shiwan Khan and Ian McKellen are on the top of the Empire State Building, and he convinces with his mind powers for the guy to jump off. The guy jumps off, and then they cut to the ground level where the Shadow and Margot are just walking away, and you see the dude in the distance fall down. He hits both levels on the way down, and they just keep walking and talking. It's an absolutely gorgeous shot, surprisingly violent, because you just imagine the damage as he's falling down the side of the building and hitting every level on the way down. And like you said, every time I kept thinking, it's like, oh, this film's not very good. There would be something which would drag me back into it, whether it be a shot, a bit of acting, a bit of cinematography, whatever you want to call it. Or the Jerry Goldsmith score is fantastic.
The score is great.
There's only one moment actually when the score takes a funny turn. It's the bizarre first date, and I think it's their only actual date, when Alec Baldwin's character Lamont takes Margot to a Chinese restaurant because he knows exactly what he's doing. He can only speak one extra language, so it's just like, I'm going to take her to a Chinese restaurant and order in Chinese. That'll make me look like a Mac. Their interaction on that date is legitimately insane, and for some odd reason the score turns it into an 80s like rom-com. It's a really bizarre sequence if you go back and rewatch it. It's short, it's brief, and it feels like it's just been dropped out of another movie. Very strange.
Thinking like we did the Phantom, we did the Shadow, right? And it's just made me think, right? We've already done the Rocketeer and we've done Dick Tracy.
Which has got these films as well.
So if these films were not better, because I love the Rocketeer, we didn't mind Dick Tracy, the Phantom was good, the Shadow. But if these films did better at the box office, could you imagine the Avengers style film we could have had? Because they're all in 1930s, and most of it's in New York. So the Avengers style, I know Rocketeer was Los Angeles, but the Avengers style film we could have had with these 30s characters. The team,
the closest we got to it, I guess, was Captain America: The First Avenger. But I think these films did for what what was the pirate film in the 90s that like massive flop, Cutthroat Island. That ostensibly just killed pirate films until obviously Pirates of the Caribbean
Pirates of the
came,
Caribbean,
and that was this massive surprise hit, and suddenly pirates were cool again. But I think these films were such a consistent failure. All of these like 30s period serials that they turned into superhero films and they just didn't work. Dick Tracy did okay numbers, but it was considered a disappointment. The Phantom was a flop. This was a flop. It's like all of these bizarre takes. It goes back to, and we mentioned on previous podcasts, it was a bunch of old dudes working for Fox, Universal, whoever, saw that Batman made a. Oh, sorry, you're waving at me. Oh, sorry about this. We just had a doorbell issue thing. But anyway, to get back to my point, those old executives all watched Batman '89 and went, "Oh, the kids love 1930s serials. We should make it like that." And they obviously all got greenlit in and around the same time. The Phantom, The Shadow, Dick Tracy, and it's not what anybody wanted. Everybody just wanted another Batman movie. Nobody knew who these things were, and I didn't know. I vaguely knew who Dick Tracy was. I vaguely, I didn't know who The Shadow was. I didn't know who The Phantom was really growing up, other than from the cartoons and all that jazz. But I don't think anyone was screaming out for these movies. And again, that's one of the issues come into one of the reasons I think it flopped is that there just wasn't that level of interest. But on top, basically, you needed this to be a good film. Like it needed good reviews, it needed good word of mouth. It wasn't just going to sell on just the Shadow name alone. That's for sure.
So the way I see it with the executives, it's more along the lines of they wanted another Batman. So they've looked into I guess I don't even know if I'm using the word right. The zeitgeist of comic characters and things like that. And you can't go bright. So you can't go like Flash, Spider-Man, because they're all. So Batman worked, Batman's dark. No, they could have. But what I'm saying is they probably didn't see that. They wanted to go the same template, which is dark. Who's dark? Well, Dick Tracy is at night. It's dark. A lot of those guys are colorful. They're all wearing different color suits and they all got things. But
it's noirish of a time.
Yeah, they feel like Batman villains. That'll work. The Phantom, kind of dark. Again, he's purple. It's fine, but it's kind of dark anyway. Shadow, definitely dark. Oh no, the Shadow was the guy that actually, inspired. Thank you for that. Yeah, inspired the Batman. That'll work. Rocketeer is a blip because Rocketeer is bright. It's colorful.
But I think it still falls under the whole 30s serial thing. Which
absolutely. But everything, and you're going because you said Batman is gothic, isn't it? So that's that 1930s. That's the fight on the church is so fucking like the whole church with the gargoyles and everything. That feels like 1930s.
Yeah, it couldn't have harmed whether it be bright or anything. It would have been a great time at that point to be like, all right, who's got the rights to Spider-Man? Who's got the rights to Captain America? It's like, who were the popular characters in like the mid 90s, and they were still Marvel. It's like, the X-Men, let's do the X-Men. And it took them, all these films failed. So then the superhero genre went quiet again. And as we've mentioned before, bizarrely, it was Blade, which got everything back on track. The sleeper hit that was Blade. And it was like most people didn't know it was a comic book movie when they watched it. But then it was like, oh, wait, that was a comic book movie. It did pretty well. Let's give the X-Men a go. And then, they're off to the fucking races and we've never stopped since. But to bring it back to The Shadow, I mean, I mentioned the fact that that's one of the problems, it didn't do so well. But the problems of this film fundamentally run deep. It's like you've got the whole scenes with Shiwan Khan and Lamont, and they keep referring to the whole Yinko thing. It was Yinko, the Butcher of Lhasa. And I'm literally sitting there going, wait, what? And it's just another one of those bits of information that is spooled out so inconsistently. So we sit there and we're like, wait, why does he keep calling him Yinko? Who's Yinko? And it's down to a dream sequence later on and a tiny little flashback, which gives you a hint of what Yinko might mean. But he calls him Yinko constantly. Like, we all know what the fuck is going on. And you mentioned the stuff with Ian McKellen and Tim Curry and the bomb and stuff. All of that is massively underserved. Like, I never cared about any of it. I was like, well, I kind of care because it's an atomic bomb. But the link between Ian McKellen and his daughter, it's just like, I couldn't give a shit about any of this. And you've got a great character like Ian McKellen, and he just plays a moron for the entire film. Like, he has a few jokes about being colorblind, and then the rest of it, he just stands there like a lemon. I was just like, oh. And it was almost like when they had the sequence with the bomb at the end, I was like, oh, I kind of forgot about the bomb, if truth be told. But I guess we're here again.
His paycheck must have been great. Like, he basically got it to do fuck off, to just go in and just act ditzy for like an hour. It's
weird that you mentioned John Hurt, because John Hurt basically played the exact same character in Indiana Jones and the
Crystal Skull.
Crystal Skull. I do apologize. But you think every so often, all right, this is going to be saved now because they have a cool action sequence. Like there's the action sequence between the bizarre action sequence between Shiwan Khan and Lamont, where they, for some odd reason, it reminded me of Step Brothers. When they shoot at each other and both of their bullets kind of
Yeah.
collide in the air and they look at each other. It's just like, dude, did we just become best friends? Like that's the vibe I got from that sequence. But again, considering he doesn't have magical powers. I don't know why that would happen, but sure, it is what it is.
It's so inconsistent with whether or not they're like magic or not magic and everything.
Yeah,
And it's
it
like
drove me
because
it
they're
drove me
in each
insane.
other's minds. And like you said, it's like okay, so Lamont is meant he was a pupil of the Takai or whatever that guy's name was.
Hmm.
But I guess he didn't finish his training before coming back. But because
Maybe. Who
Shiwan
knows?
Khan is a better version because he's able to control the dagger, stab the Takai, hypnotize the
Yeah.
entire city, fuck with Margot, even though Lamont can't fuck with Margot's brain and everything.
Yeah,
It's really weird.
again, that's what I mean. It's interesting, but it's underplayed. It's like the whole thing where Shiwan Khan has the power to like control people from across the other side of the city. It's another one of those like low key, fantastic shots when he takes control of Ian McKellen's mind from the other side of the city. The camera kind of goes from Shiwan Khan, travels through the city. Again, it's one of those great aerial shots. Goes to Ian McKellen. I'm just like, that is absolutely gorgeous. And there's that odd sequence where it's like almost like a recurring character in the film, the billboard with the dude smoking,
Yeah.
and it's like all of a sudden his face turns into Shiwan Khan's. That looks a little bit dodgy in the same way that the dagger CGI hasn't aged fantastically, but it's a cool shot. It's a cool idea, but for the reasons you just suggested there, all the elements behind that character that are supposed to add some weight to their rivalry just really isn't explained. And this movie went through a whole bunch of rewrites. It was, I think initially uh, Sam Raimi was going to direct it. There was another, who is it? Robert Zemeckis was involved.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
the script went from like, oh, we're going to do a funny movie, we're going to do a really dark movie, and then it's kind of ended up in the middle. And like you get with a lot of these films, it doesn't really hit either base and ends up in a bit of a no man's land and
Yeah.
never really decides, all right, what is this film going to be? We're going to try and be a bit of everything, and it just doesn't really work, sadly. It's a bit of a shame because, like I said, there are moments, but
Yeah.
not enough of them.
I don't know if we need to cover anything else. I'm happy to move on.
Well, just one last thing before we move on. The end of this film, I am going to mention it one last time, The Phantom. So The Phantom, we said, like, for an hour, it's a really good film, and then it kind of shits the bed in the final act. This film is almost the opposite. As I said, once it gets
No.
rid of the prosthetics, I know you don't necessarily agree with this, but when it goes full Enter the Dragon, just be clear, does it make any sense? No. But by this point, I've just given up. But at least aesthetically, as an action sequence for the finale of a film, it works. I like the stuff with the mirrors. I think it's really cool. The bit when
It's
he gets
funny
the shard of glass in his head, I think that looks
that's
pretty badass.
that's part Enter the Dragon, not full. They couldn't go full Enter the Dragon because they ran out of money. They had the whole set up,
Mhm,
and I believe there was an earthquake that damaged a lot of the mirrors, so they had no
mhm.
money to rebuild the set. So they just, I'll leave it. Whatever we film, that's what we're going to show. Like,
Fair
okay,
enough, fair enough.
yeah,
But like I said, by that point, I'm more invested in the relationship between Margot and Lamont. I've stopped caring about the fact that Shiwan Khan's totally underbaked. I'm like, well, we're at the finale now. Let's just do a big showdown. I think the showdown, without having any actual kind of emotional weight, works. I like the stuff at the end where he's in like the mental institute. I'm not sure about Taylor Dane's original Sin in the end credits. If you're not sure who that is, she did
yeah.
her most famous song is Tell It to My Heart. If you play that on Spotify, you'll know it immediately. It's a pretty dramatic tonal shift at the end of the film. But I do think it ends relatively strong, but it does not make up for the rest of the film at all.
It kind of all takes it off of me when they have the Acme, like Warner Brothers chasing the bomb. Like they're chasing
Yeah.
the bomb, and all of a sudden the bomb's chasing them because somehow it managed to go above them, even though they're
Mhm.
running behind the bomb the entire time. They
Yeah,
go,
yeah.
oh, it's upstairs. They go up the stairs, then it starts coming down the stairs to chase them. Then it ends up in the lift, the shaft.
Mhm.
And then it's the whole, oh, we got an hour left. That's fine. Okay, no. We got 2 minutes because I fucked this up. Okay, great, fine. And then it's, oh, it's always green. Let's cut green. Oh, no. Chekhov's colorblind comes back. And oh, no. This is green. I'll have to remember that. How are you gonna? You're colorblind. How are you gonna remember which one is the color? You're not going
Yeah,
to.
it's a silly line.
Yeah,
It gives them something to do at the end of the film. Again, they're trying to add drama. Like it's almost like they're like, well, we've got to give Shiron Khan wouldn't made the timer 2 minutes because he has to get out of the city. So, we're gonna have Ian McKellen just come in and totally fuck it somehow to add the drama. Yes, it's kind of silly, but like you said, in and of itself, quite fun. Anyway, let's move on to favorite scene.
yeah. Uh,
Mine, I think I mentioned earlier, it might be the mail being delivered, which sounds insane, but I just absolutely love that shot. Or the dude falling off the Empire State Building. I would throw in the Enter the Dragon mirror sequence, whether it was shortened or not. I don't really care. I think it looks cool, and a big part of that is because it's the one time that Alec Baldwin gets to look like a proper superhero, and it's a shame that he spends the rest of the film with that stupid prosthetic nose. It's absolutely maddening. So, I'm going to go with the mail being delivered. I really like that shot.
yeah, that's right. I'm going to argue when he looked like a proper superhero, prosthetic or not, is, as I've already said, the original bridge scene, the opening bridge
Mm-hmm.
scene, where he fights the gangsters, he convinces them to turn themselves in.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like you get the instant mythology. So
Mm-hmm.
when it introduces like the Lamont as the mysterious, morally ambiguous Shadow, it's based on the Living Shadow, which was the first Shadow novel.
Mm-hmm.
It's just everything about like the pacing I think is great. The direction, like Russell McKay, where it feels confident, like the camera glides in the right way. Even the bit where he's like sort of like doing a Flash-esque, I'm running fast. Do you know when you've seen that with Flash, he's running
Yeah, yeah,
fast,
yeah,
he's
yeah.
fighting somebody, he comes out and fast to punch a guy. Like the
Mm-hmm.
Shadow's doing that, but he's coming out of invisibility,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
guess,
yeah.
to punch a guy. And I think it sets up for what would have been a better and darker film if we could have gone that way. I still think that is the best
100%.
scene in the film.
No, no, I think that's a pretty good scene as well. And we've not mentioned Russell Mulcahy, who directed this. I think he probably most famously also directed Highlander, a movie we
Yeah.
obviously covered on this podcast. But there are moments of genuine confidence from it. Like, there's never like a genuine issue with the direction of this film. I think it's directed well. As I said, I
Yeah.
think it looks pretty good.
Yeah.
The issues really are with the script, if truth be told. That brings us to our loves and hates. My loves are number one, Baldwin when he's not in prosthetics. I think he's every inch the movie star. As I said, when he walks into that club early in the film and he's got the full suit on, I was just like, dude looks like Bruce Wayne. I'm not sure if he was actually ever like truly considered for Bruce Wayne or for Batman. I've got to assume somebody talked about him when they were casting Batman Forever. Like,
Yeah.
surely. Because he just looks like Bruce Wayne, and I think he would have been fantastic if given the right material. Number two, the movie has a wonderful old-fashioned visual splendor when CGI is not involved. As we mentioned, that dagger kind of takes you out of the film a little bit. It's fine CGI for 94, but it's very much 94 CGI. And number three, I know we don't necessarily agree on this, but I just think it ends on a strong note. Like the final showdown, the relationship between Lamont and Margot is infinitely more interesting when she knows who he is and stops being used as a plot device. It's
Yeah.
like once we get over all that nonsense, we're just like, all right, I suddenly care about the characters. The ending's pretty cool, but then the movie's over and you're just left with more questions than answers, sadly. But it is what it is. Those are my loves.
For me, it's the design, like the 1930s New York is just it's like dripping with noir atmosphere. From the foggy alleys, the Art Deco, the moody lighting, it just feels like that pulp era that you would get.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
and number two, Baldwin's charm, like his whole brooding thing is pretty good. His performance is like the suave and intensity and the old school charisma. He is a proper 1930s like bachelor, if you would, who becomes like the superhero thing. Is the way he balances the tortured anti-hero vibes with the whole campiness of it all, I think is great. His voice work as well. Like his voice work in this is fantastic.
Yeah, I
When
think
he's
it's
the
really good.
shadow, because you don't see a lot of it, so it's all obviously like audio dubbed and stuff. I think it's great. And we mentioned it once or twice, but number three is Jerry Goldsmith's score. That orchestral soundtrack is great. It adds emotional weight to something that probably didn't have enough of it to start with. I think it's a good
Yeah, it kind of
yeah,
drags some scenes kicking and screaming over the line.
yeah,
I'm not convinced this movie. It's annoying because again, when we talk about it, it's like you have all these individual elements which are good, but something's been lost in
yeah.
the
But the
translation,
score
sadly. But
the score gives you like a sense of grandeur to a
oh yeah,
film that
yeah.
needed it. Like
Well,
really
that's the
needed
thing.
it.
If you
Yeah.
if you look right, if you take away the plot and you're just looking at a sequence, and you've just got Alec Baldwin and Margot walking through New York. You've got that wonderful cinematography, gorgeous set design, you've got that fantastic Jerry Smith score, and you're just like, Jerry Goldsmith score, sorry. You'd be like, oh, geez, this is like a legit movie. And then people start talking, and you're like, oh, wait, none of this actually makes sense. Which leads us to our hates. Number one, I mentioned it a bunch of times, but it really is the prosthetics on both Baldwin and John Doe are genuinely unforgivable as far as I'm concerned. Number two, the plot is arguably overly simplistic, but it's delivered in an annoyingly complex and incoherent manner, sorry, via the script. As you said, like the stuff, like when you break it down, it's like, wait, what is the bad guy trying to do? Like, just like it's Pinky in the Brain stuff. It's ridiculous. But everything around it is just needlessly complex when the emphasis should have been on the characters, but it is what it is. And number three, I'd love to say the prosthetics again, but I'll say the occasional dodgy use of CGI, which I think it does undermine what is an otherwise good-looking movie.
For me, it's number one is the convoluted and clunky plot.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's trying to juggle everything, isn't it? The pulp mysticism, the redemption arcs, the telepathy, atomic bombs, Mongolian warlords. I could give you more. Like, it's just trying to juggle all this.
It's too much.
Yeah, I know. The pacing's uneven. You know, you get like exposition heavy scenes, and then it just drags the momentum of basically what should just be a fun actioner down. It's insane. And number two, it's just like the lack of emotional depth as well. Just Margot Lane and Siobhan Kane had potential, but the development was really thin. As you said, you only got Margot Lane to bring in fucking John
Ian
Hurt,
McKellen.
Ian McKellen,
Dr. Reinhardt.
Yeah. The humor, it just veered into awkwardness. It just didn't really feel like a funny film as well. It just, I wasn't a fan of that. And number three, it missed potential. It was just trying too hard at some point, and it didn't feel right. So
no, it just doesn't underplay in anything. What it does remind you is like there's a reason why when you get a lot of these what I guess you would call them as superhero origin movies, which ostensibly this is trying to be, there's a reason that usually the bad guys are just abandoned for the vast majority of the film. One which kind of flies in the face of this is Batman 1989, funny enough, a movie we've mentioned numerous times, because even in 1989 he was pretty confident. It's like, listen, everyone knows who Batman is. You know, even the cold opening you got in that film where you think it's going to be the Batman origin story again, and then you realize it's Batman stopping a crime in the alley instead. And that's why they were able to make it as much as a Joker movie as a Batman film, because they didn't need to explain Batman. With the Shadow, you do need to explain the Shadow because most people don't know who the fuck the Shadow is. But they're trying to have their cake and eat it. And you spend so much time with Siobhan Khan and his stupid plot. It's like, just make him, he wants to take over the world. Who gives a fuck? Get the emphasis back on Alec Baldwin's character, Lamont, and his relationship with Margot. And even the stuff at the start, you know, we didn't even mention the fact that you have that bizarre cold opening and then they go to an opening crawl, which only kind of partly explains what's going on. They really didn't know how to tell this story, sadly. And it's just speaks to the fact that this film is fundamentally a bit of a mess. Any alternative titles for this film, which would be strange considering it's just called The Shadow, but there's always a few.
Yeah, there's a few, but they're basically The Shadow. So Austria is Shadow and the Curse of Khan.
Mm-hmm.
I started that like it was going to be a big list. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, you did,
Taiwan, Phantom Demon Star.
Okay, that one's pretty good. Good.
And Italy, The Shadow Man. That's it.
Well, at least there was one genuine bang in there, so we'll settle for that. Any facts for this film?
So when Siobhan Khan and Lamont Cranston first meet, their dialogue about where Cranston purchased his tie as a spoof on product placement during the radio airing of The Shadow. So you'd always have product placement. So, what attracted Tim Curry to this project more than anything else was the chance to work with Sarah McKellen.
Yeah, for all those fantastic scenes they got together. Totally underdeveloped, but sure.
Sam Raimi originally wanted to adapt and direct this movie, but was denied the rights to it. He instead made Darkman in 1990. Raimi tried again to make a Shadow film with producer Michael E. Uslan in 2006, but the project never got off the ground.
Yeah, it'd be hard to kind of convince someone, let's do The Shadow again. I mean, maybe it's been long. It's been like, 31 years now. It's like, we could go back and do The Shadow.
The scenes towards the end with the multiple mirrors pay homage to the cover of the Shadow novel Room of Doom, published in 1942.
Cool.
In the pulps, Lamont Cranston was an alias. The Shadow is really Kent Alard, a World War One flying ace who was nicknamed the Black Eagle. Yinko is Black Eagle in Mandarin.
Fair enough.
In the first scene where Li Peng takes Wu as a hostage, the joke is not subtitled or translated. In Thai, Yinko says, "But too much like my father." Apparently, that's what made everyone laugh.
Oh, yeah. Very,
Yeah.
very good. Very good.
Chow Yun Fat was considered for the role of Shi Wan Khan.
I fucking love Chow Yun Fat, but he just
Yeah.
would have been under prosthetics anyway, so who gives a shit?
The Sunshine Taxi, driven by Mo, is modeled after a 1936 Seven Cord, probably a later reproduction. I fucking love that car. I think it looks absolutely lovely.
It does,
just the
yeah,
fact
yeah,
it's
yeah.
yellow.
Yeah,
It's
just like like I said, most of the things in this film look great,
Yeah.
except for bizarrely enough, like the opening looks terrible. Like I was really concerned when it opens and you've got him with the fucking nails in the hair and the stuff
Yeah.
in the desert. When I was just like, all this looks bad. When they go to the city, the film suddenly improves massively. But it's a rough opening, actually.
The Shadow changes from the Shadow to Cranston in the Taxi. In the novels, it's the reverse. He usually goes from Cranston to the Shadow.
Ah, I see.
There you go. Don't say you don't come here for the good facts.
Oh yeah, of course. This is great stuff.
The finale in which Cranston chases Shi Wan Khan through a hall of mirrors was intended to be longer, with Khan taunting Cranston by displaying images from his violent past on the mirrors. An earthquake destroyed the set, and the filmmakers, out of time and money, were unable to complete the scene as originally envisioned.
See, that's a shame. That's the kind of stuff I wanted to see. You know, that whole duality thing. It's like even a couple of times in the film, like the bridge sequence, for instance, he just loses himself and kills one of the bad guys, and then feels bad about it later. It's like,
Yeah.
I've gone too far. The whole, like, Anakin in fucking Star Wars, like when he's like toying with his kind of temptation, the dark side, when it's like, oh fuck, I shouldn't have killed that guy. I want to be a
Yeah.
good guy, but I might be a bit of a dick. But it's just not in the film. And that, yeah, the stuff with the mirror, that sounds good. But I mean, I guess, what can you do? Fucking earthquake, it's not their fault. How to the Future, so this is where we ask the question: remake, sequel, let it die, or leave well alone. I actually think this is perfect for a remake. I don't think it'll happen, but this is one of those, we've said it a million times, don't remake the really good films. Those still exist. This is a good idea, which the execution just isn't there. But there is a good movie in here, make no mistake. I'd love to see a Shadow film. I'm not sure who the problem is. We do have a severe lack of movie stars nowadays, and I do think this is the kind of film which needs a movie star in the lead. You're not going to sell it on just The Shadow, but I wouldn't be against the idea of a remake, that's for sure.
Same. I'd go for a remake. I mean, like you said, we've said this with a bunch. I'd go for a remake of The Phantom, of Dick Tracy, of The Rocketeer. These kind of things I would enjoy a remake of. Just we've said it before. Just make a remake of a film that didn't do well and make a good one. Don't remake films that were already good.
I have to ask, out of those four films, which one, if you could greenlight one of them, because I was thinking like the one I definitely wouldn't remake is, for all its faults, is Dick Tracy. I think Dick Tracy with his cast and everything is actually a pretty good movie. Again, it's flawed, but a big part of the reason that movie still works is because you've got this mega star cast. You're not going to recreate that in 2025. So that's off the table for me. I think The Phantom actually still looks great. So I'm like, I don't think, bizarrely, nobody's watching The Phantom, but I'm like, I don't think that film needs to be remade because a lot of it still holds up. I would put it between The Rocketeer and this.
So we kind of look at them differently because I like the characters and the films were a little bit lackluster for the most part. So to see remakes, absolutely fine for me. My favorite of these four is definitely The Rocketeer. And which one? And I know I've already said films I loved. I don't really, but which one I'd want a proper remake of or another revisit to this character is definitely The Rocketeer. I think you could do so good with that. But if you want to keep it a bit more grounded and budget friendly and things like that, you just got to fucking take an iPhone out in an alleyway at the night and you've got the Shadow. So you could remake.
It's weird that you say that because this movie, I think, just looks so expensive. I think that's part of its charm, the fact that it looks like an old-fashioned kind of big budget movie. But yeah, you can just go down the alley with an iPhone and we'll make a very different version of The Shadow. I actually think you're right.
Like all these things at the moment. Just fucking go to Glasgow or Liverpool. Apparently, you're making it look like Gotham all the time. Just
Oh yeah, they always
Yeah,
shoot in Glasgow. I do think you're right though. Out of all those films, I think The Rocketeer would be the most interesting. I don't have
yeah.
quite the same attachment as you. I think there's some really good stuff in The Rocketeer. Like The Phantom, it shits the bed in the final act. I remember that being pretty rough. The stuff with Timothy Dalton at the end, but
Yeah,
I would love to see them go back and do a proper period piece Rocketeer remake. I think it'd be interesting. Again, I don't think we're going to get it, but that's probably the one I'd pick as
yeah, yeah.
well.
I get that. Yeah.
Make a change. So this is where we, make a choice. If you could make one change to make this movie better, what would you pick? I know I've made numerous references to the prosthetics, but it really is a need to streamline the script. It's messy and constantly undermines the interesting themes that are never more than hinted at in this film. Like I said, like the films that drive me the craziest are the ones where I can see the good movie getting out, like trying to get out, and there's always something in the way. There's always like a bad choice. Some films are just bad. The Shadow isn't bad to front. It's just they make like a 101 tiny terrible errors. They're not like groundbreaking out. You could get away with one or two of them, but there are just too many of them, and they all add up to basically ruin what could have been a good film. So,
Yeah.
but fundamentally, it still always comes back to the script. So that's what I'd look to streamline for sure.
Not being allowed to do it and then going on and doing his other one, which we both agree, even though I haven't seen it for a while, is a great film. Was a great film. Being Darkman, my
Mhm.
change would be let Sam Raimi direct it. Let's see
That'd be
what
a good
Sam
show.
Raimi could do with it, because like I said, and Darkman was done 4 years before this. Darkman was done in 1990. Can you
Yeah, yeah,
imagine
yeah.
if, because even after 4 years, technology would improve? Can you imagine just letting Sam Raimi direct this? I think
I'd
Sam
love to
Raimi
see.
from late
That's a
80s,
great
early
shout.
90s is would be
Even
shit
now,
hard. Like, yeah,
if
even
if
now,
you
yeah,
told
yeah,
me
I get it
now it's
now.
like Sam Raimi who's going to direct the Shadow remake, I'm like, I am absolutely on board. I don't know who I'd want playing the Shadow, but I'd love to see Sam Raimi directed. That's for damn sure.
Yeah,
So is that everything? What do we usually do next? Oh, video games. That's it.
video.
Video games. Bizarrely, there was a fully completed Super NES
Yes,
game
yes.
that was totally canned because this film did so poorly at the box office. It's just like we can't be bothered releasing it. And there are like examples of that in the past where they're just like, listen, we've either almost completed it or we have completed it, and we're just like, there's just no benefit to us releasing this. So we'll never know. Oh
Well, we
God, sorry,
will.
hiccup.
Like a lot of people, because it's been Jack Sparrow, haven't it? It's
Oh yeah, yeah. You
yeah,
can find a ROM for it and stuff like
yeah.
that,
You can
can't you? Of
find a
course,
ROM for
which
like the
I've
full
never
game.
played, admittedly.
No, I've
Yeah,
never
yeah.
played it, but I know saying we'll never know. I think if we really wanted to, we'd find the ROM and
Yeah,
we could
and let's be
probably
honest,
play it. Yeah.
it's a Super NES movie tie-in. You can already see what it looks like and probably how it plays.
Last week,
Um,
so before
in
you go
terms
on,
of it, oh
sorry,
sorry, go
before
for
you
it.
go on, last week you rightly said the correct answer was Naughty Dog for the Phantom.
We both know what the answer for this one is. Yeah,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm wondering if we're both on the same page again for this one.
100%. I've got it written down here. So I could have thought harder and maybe picked something else. It is lazy, but the correct answer is Rocksteady. It's absolutely
Arkham
Rocksteady.
City. Yeah, the
Yeah,
Arkham
yeah.
games. Yeah, yeah,
Dude, I
absolutely.
love the idea of a period set Arkham game. And
Yeah,
his powers would be so interesting. That you think about the sequences when you're basically hunting people in the Batman games. It's
yeah.
that with more laughing, just loads of fucking laughing, just freaking everyone the fuck out and using your shadow meter and all these other things. But yeah, it's absolutely New York. It's dripping with noir at night, but you could do the stuff in the day when, I like the idea rather than just always be in the shadow, you have sequences in the day when you play as Lamont and you've got to do some detective work, whatever, you get to go to the inner sanctum and
I
all
mean,
that
you could
jazz.
go into Arkham Knight territory as well and have the drive-in section where Mo is driving you around in his taxi.
Dude, the driving section from Arkham Knight is so under. Arkham Knight is massively underrated, and it
Yeah,
feels
yeah,
like one of those
yeah.
games everyone's just looking back and going, that game's like 10 years old now. It still looks amazing. Everyone got their balls in a twist because the tank sections were rubbish. Now, I'm not gonna like the tank sections weren't great, and they were far too prevalent in the game. If you remove the tank sections, everything else in that game is phenomenal.
I
The
think everyone
fucking
went.
the Batmobile stuff is amazing. It's like playing Burnout in a Batmobile. It's awesome.
I think everyone went nuts because they did a Lost where they promised it wasn't Limbo. It definitely wasn't Limbo. The island wasn't Limbo. It turned out that the other timeline
Oh
was
yeah.
probably Limbo. It's definitely not Jason Todd. He's definitely not Jason Todd. The bad guy's not Jason Todd. I promise you, it's not. Who is it?
Of course, it's Jason
Yeah,
Todd. But like, who gives a shit? I actually love the stuff with the
I loved it.
Joker,
I
where
think
he
it's a
would
great
where he'd
game.
pop
Yeah,
up around, like, because that was the thing. It was like you're just playing the game. It wasn't a scripted moment, and you'd suddenly pop up over the ledge of a building, and one of the billboards would suddenly have the Joker on it. You'd be like, "What the fuck?" And when you look back, it was got. I loved all that stuff. I like the story. It's
Yeah.
one of the few games I played all the DLC, and I would love to see their take. But basically, we all want to see Rocksteady make another fucking Batman game. But I would settle for the Shadow, 100%. Is
Oh,
that going to happen?
absolutely. And
Obviously not. But it'd be
please make
awesome.
a proper game. Don't give us this fucking whatever that fucking
Warner Brothers just need to get the fuck out of everyone's way.
yeah.
Stop.
Although
I mean, I played.
Warner Brothers Arkham Origins, I think, was great, but that Gotham Knights was awful.
Right. I played Gotham Knights with zero expectations, and I had no interest in playing like the end game, and it was fine.
It wasn't.
Million miles off the Arkham games, but in and of itself, I thought it was absolutely fine, just cutting about the city. In the same way that the Suicide Squad game, I just played the story. I had no interest, like all the stuff afterwards, all the fanning about. I just didn't give a fuck. Of
Yeah.
course, it's infuriating that all this stuff is bolted on, and it feels completely inessential. But the writing was good. It looked amazing. The shooting, did it make any sense? Characters to all have guns? No. Did it work fine? Kind of. A big part of this is, like we mentioned before, is expectations. I expected nothing from Gotham Knights, and I expected nothing from Suicide Squad. And because I went to them like a year later, and I just played through the story and didn't worry about anything else, I was like, they were fine. They were fine. But we're comparing them to like three, by video game standards, borderline masterpieces with the Arkham games.
Yeah,
like each one. I know some people prefer the set. I on any given day, I can tell you any three of those might be my favorite one. And that's how good they are. It depends on what kind of mood. Because I love the kind of Metroidvania style of the first one. I like, the kind of we're going big with Gotham in the second game, and like I said, I love the stuff with the Batmobile in the third one. I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, but I thought that was cool. But anyway, sorry to get back to my point. Yes, the Shadow made by Rocksteady, and we're both in agreement. Yes.
Yeah, I'm wondering if we're going to be able to do this for all four. I mean, we're 50% there so far.
No, I know
Games.
which movies we're doing next, or at least I think I do, and I'm like, yeah, there's loads of interesting video game options, so I think we'll be fine. Best and worst of IMDb. So this is where we take a look at a random 10-star and 1-star review for this film. But initially, I try and guess how many written reviews there are for this film. The Shadow, there can't be that many. I don't even think this kind of has lived on as like a beloved cult movie. So I'm gonna say 87.
Ooh, 184.
Oof, miles off,
Yeah.
miles off. 187, more popular than I thought. Out of those 10-star reviews, fucking hell, some people lose their mind over this. 32?
Oh, dude, 38.
Oh, okay, pretty close on that at least.
Yeah. Right, so this one was written in October of 2001, titled "One of the Best Action Movies I've Ever Seen."
Settle down.
Yeah. I found The Shadow to be simply amazing. I thought that this movie was a work of art and was the classic definition of a sleeper film. When we were blessed with this great film, it did not get the recognition it deserved. I found this film to be full of great action sequences and witty special effects. I was disappointed to find that it got such a low vote. This movie was astonishing, and I recommend it to anyone who likes creative action films. I don't think they watched The Shadow.
I also think he's put like a bunch of random words through, like, he's looked for synonyms and just picked the wrong ones. So they're words which kind of work, but don't really make sense in the sentence. It's a strange review and it's a bizarre score. There's just, listen, I've got a bit of a soft spot for this film. It's not without merit. It's not a 10-star film.
No.
However, if somebody wants to give it a 1-star film, well, again, I don't agree. I could understand where they're coming from. I don't think there's going to be that many 1-stars, though. 17? 13.
5.
Oh, yeah, no,
Yep.
no, that's fair enough. That's fair enough.
So this one was written in August 2003, titled "Don't Waste Any of Your Time on This One."
To the point.
Although any film based on cartoon or comic characters is meant to be taken lightly, this one really is appalling. I actually couldn't finish watching it because I felt I was wasting too much of my life sitting there bored out of my wits. From the opening scene where Baldwin, who seems to have forgotten how to act, is converted from evil to savior of the people, you know this isn't going to get much better, and it doesn't. Even the wonderful Tim Curry can't save this dross.
No, I didn't. I actually, one of the few films where I didn't like Tim Curry. Now, I'd quite happily have seen him ejected from the movie. Yeah, a little bit harsh, but I see where he's coming from, which brings us to our own ratings and recommendations. I actually tiptoed briefly around the idea of giving this a 3, but it's ultimately just too messy. I don't want to give it a 2.5. That feels like a cop out. So it is a 2, and it's a no for me. I couldn't, in my right mind, tell anyone to go and watch this. I think last week genuinely, I've gone out and told people, I was like, dude, I've rewatched The Phantom. It's surprisingly awesome. Whereas if I get like, I'll talk to people in work tomorrow, I'll be like, dude, I rewatched The Shadow. It's exactly what I thought it was. So yeah, it's a 2 and a note from me.
Yeah, we gave the Phantom a 3 last week. This is definitely a 2.
Yeah.
Like it has a lot of problems. I wouldn't even give
Mhm.
this a 2.5. It just has a lot of problems. And no, I'm not going to go recommend it. I would recommend the Phantom, like you said, but I'm not recommending this film. This film just needs to just stay where it was in '94, I think.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's too infuriating to recommend to anyone. As I said, like, as I just mentioned, then it's certainly not without merit. There are worse things you could do with your life than like go back and watch The Shadow, but prepared to be ultimately disappointed. So yeah,
Yeah.
if you didn't enjoy this back in 1994, I don't think you're going to enjoy it now. And if you did enjoy it in 1994 when you were like 12 years old, leave those rose tinted glasses on. Don't go back and revisit it. I don't think you're going to be happy with what you find. So yeah, that's been the second part of our dodgy 90s superhero season of movie podcast. What are you picking for the third part?
I mean, I'm gonna from the director that gave us "I Still Know What You Did Last Summer" and
Classic,
Goal.
classic.
Remember
What?
Goal,
Oh, the football movie.
the football movie? Yeah,
I
you
mean,
know,
I remember of it. Yes, not particularly
yeah.
fondly. But yes, I remember it.
That same director gave us 1995's uh, Sylvester Stallone starring "I'm a Cop, I'm a Judge, I'm an Executioner," Judge Dredd.
Judge Dredd. Well, this does I think we're on pretty safe ground here when it comes to dodgy 90s superhero flicks. I am genuinely looking forward to rewatching this. I think similarly to The Shadow, it's going to have some good stuff, but I don't think it's at any point gonna I don't think it's gonna be a good movie in the way that The Shadow could have been. I don't think there's any world where Judge Dredd was going to be good, but I think there's potential for fun in there. And
So yeah,
admittedly, I've not seen it for a long time, so yeah, could be interesting.
that's exactly what I was going to say. I think we're going to look at it a little bit differently because
I think so.
you're looking for a good movie, you probably won't find it. You're looking for a fun and entertainment movie, you're going to find it. I mean,
Yeah.
it's bright, it's action filled. It's Stallone doing what Stallone wants in regards to people need to see my face. No, no, no. Judge Dredd takes his doesn't take his helmet. No, no, no. People need to see my face. Okay, it's fine. We need some comic humor in it. Let's get the best comic we know. Let's get Rob Schneider to be the
Yeah,
sidekick.
the number
Yeah,
one comic in America at the time for
yeah,
sure. Rob Schneider.
yeah.
Let's go with that. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
and where is it? Oh, Judge Dredd needs his counterpart. He needs the guy that is as bad as him, is as big as him. Who are we gonna get? Amanda Santi, the little dude. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We'll get Amanda Santi. Okay, like I'm still
Yeah,
gonna have fun
no,
with it.
you've nailed it. Like the Shadow is a movie where like one of its greatest crimes actually is that it's quite boring. Like that's one of the problems with it. Like like you said, it genuinely tiptoes around being a good movie at times, but fundamentally for its problems, it's also quite boring. Judge Dredd never tiptoes around being a good movie, from what I can recall, but it's not boring. I can't remember it being boring. So yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of fun talking about Judge Dredd, if nothing else. But am I expecting a good film? No, 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 no. But fun, sure. Let's go for it.
So Diane Lane's in this, right?
Mhm,
And she was married to Josh Brolin from 2004 to 2013. Okay,
mhm.
randomly because I was looking at this, I went down a rabbit hole. So I didn't even know this. Do you know who she was married to between 88 and 94?
Diane Lane.
Yeah,
No, no.
I'd give you a million guesses, you'd never get it.
All right, go for it.
Christopher Lambert.
Really? No, I would have never got
Yes.
that.
No.
That's this. Yeah, we keep kind of referencing Highlander, don't we, by
Yeah.
accident? Yeah. That is a weird couple. Diane Lane was like a smoke show. Remember,
Still is a
also,
smoke show dude.
oh, she is
She's
a
a
very
cougar, to be
attractive older
fair. Yeah.
lady.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you go back and watch, what was the film? I always get the title wrong. Fire in the City. What the fuck it's called?
Oh, yeah, yeah. City of Fire?
City of Fire? Oh, sorry.
No, no. Streets of
I've
Fire.
done
Streets of Fire.
Streets of Fire, where I've almost got it right that I confused everyone. Yeah, you go back and watch Streets of Fire, like, oh yeah, Diane Lane was fucking smoking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I surprised to hear that she was with Christopher Lambert. Yeah, I would have
No,
not got that.
it didn't freak. Like I said, it freaked me out. It didn't freak me out, but my God, like she.
No, it
What?
just comes as a surprise, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's one of those like you just can't imagine them together. But well, it was
I
a
mean,
thing
fair
apparently.
play. She has had a career. Like Diane Lane, you think she's only ever been in one certain type of film, And then you go back through the career and you go, no, like obviously you just said Streets of Fire,
Man
The
of Steel.
Outsiders, Rumblefish, yeah, I knew Man of Steel, but I'm going back like National Lampoon films, fucking Dredd, like you said, Judge Dredd, Murder at 1600. Oh, fucking.
That's one of the things you have to be careful with. You can't mix up Judge Dredd with Dredd. Are they about the same character? Yes. Are they very different movies?
Dude,
Yes.
I don't even know if they're about the same character. Let's be fair.
Barely. And the disparity in quality is quite strong. Needless to say,
At some point,
bigger fan of Dredd.
When we get past all our seasons, it'd be interesting to, because I know Dredd is like 2012, but it would be interesting to look at Dredd after we've looked at Judge
100%.
Dredd.
No, I think, like you said, we're going to need to get through the season, and we've got our usual Hugtober season of like Halloween podcasts coming up. But after that, I think we will have to do Dredd, because I want to rewatch that pretty hot on the heels of watching Judge Dredd. But first and foremost, Judge Dredd next week. Please do join us for that, and thanks for joining us for this week's look back at 1994's The Shadow. Do you have anything else to add before we wrap this up, dude?
No, mate, I've just had the look. It says I'm hungry, so I think I'm going to have to wrap it up.
One must feed their family. Okay, I've been Liam, he's been Rob, and you have been listening to the Hey Guys podcast. Cheers, guys. Bye-bye.
Cheers, guys. Bye now.
Oh, and before I forget, where can folk reach us if they were so inclined to?
Well, you can actually reach us on Hey You Guys 80s at Facebook, Instagram, and on Twitter. But if you want to send us a mail, do heyyouguys80s@gmail.com. Send us in your recommendations. Send us in your thoughts about any of the episodes. Just literally talk to us. We'll have a one-sided talk with you on the podcast.
Yeah. We're nice folk. Get in touch. But no, cheers, guys. Bye-bye.
Cheers, guys. Bye now.
Hey, you guys!